Here's a quick video on the updated process of when your buyer has gotten to the process of putting in an offer on a property. Um, this is after they've signed the BBA, once you guys found the property and they're ready to make an offer. Now the new process will start with dotloop. So from your dotloop dashboard, you're going to hit add loop. You'll locate the property address. Just use my house as practice. Since this is a buy-side transaction, we're going to select the template called Fig Team, FT, Purchase Agreement Loop Template. Hit Continue. You don't have to upload a photo, but if you have one, you can. You'll hit Done, and the loop will be created. Once the loop is created, you just click on this address line here, or you can go to View Loop. It's going to bring you into the dot loop itself here. This is going to have all the required documents that are pretty standard on any sale. So obviously you have your BBA documents here. If you already have a separate loop for the BBA documents that are signed, that's fine. If you know how to copy a document over from one loop to another, you can do that, or you can download and then upload it here. Either way, we'll be able to locate it and apply it where necessary. Here's a sample as is contract. So if you need a little bit of a walkthrough, guide through on, different aspects of the contract, the terms, fields, all that stuff, feel free to look through this for any guidance there. Then you're going to have to go through the process of selecting the necessary documents that you need to send to your client. So in this case, first thing you're going to want to do is add person. So these are going to be the clients associated with the sale. So you'll have to put in their legal names. You'll have to choose their role. Okay. Once your people are added to the loop, if you have multiple buyers, you'll just keep adding buyers in their emails and keep labeling them as buyers. But once that's all done, you can go ahead and open up your as is. You can choose the autofill feature. If you know any of this additional information for the time being, you can enter that in there and they will populate it into this document. Okay, so for seller name, you're going to get that from the MLS. It can either be on the listing itself, or you'll have to go to the public records of that listing to view what the seller name is. You'll put in your purchase details, offer details, excuse me, and any other subsequent fields that are going to be required. Closing date, escrow details, financed amount, cash to close amount. You'll want to fill out your financing details. You'll go through the rest of the document to make sure that all the necessary fields have been filled out. And when it's time for you to route this to your client, you'll want to make sure that if you only have one client, that you are making sure that they are assigned to the appropriate fields for their initials or their signatures. If you have more than two clients associated with the sale, you're going to have to add extra initials or signatures. Like so, wherever they are going to fit. And then you'll have to make sure that that field is selected and you choose who else that needs to be assigned to. Since you are the buyer's agent, you're going to want to make sure that you type in here Veronica Figueroa and your name. We'll just use Karen as my agent for an example for now. And then the cooperating broker is always going to be eXp Realty LLC. We don't ever put anything like the Fig team, Figueroa team, anything like that. It's just Veronica as the team lead, you as the agent, and then our brokerage name. Once this has all been filled out, along with the other subsequent documents that might be required or attached to the listing that's in MLS, you can then save these documents as soon as you're done making the edits and changes necessary. And then you just click on the document you're going to be sending out to your client to be signed. So you'll just select whichever ones are going to be going out. After you've updated them, you'll come up to the top right and hit the share button, and you'll make sure the necessary parties that need to sign are checked off and they have signing ability. And then you'll hit share. They'll receive that via email. And then you'll see a status show up here to the right-hand side that they are in progress or waiting for signatures. Once it's been signed by your client or updated in some fashion, the new status will show up here on the side. It'll either say signed, part signed, or it'll still say waiting for signatures if they have not signed yet. Now, once your client has signed all of these documents and you send them over to the listing agent, seller ends up signing those documents and the listing agent ends up bringing them back to you. You now have an executed contract that's ready to be processed by the FIG team. So when you have copies of executed documents that were signed outside of dotloop, in other words, you sent a package to the listing agent and the listing agent is now sending it back as an attachment in an email or being shared to you separately from a different e-signing service, you'll want to go to this section here where it says add document, browse, and you'll have downloaded those executed docs now. So they should be in your file explorer. You'll click on the associated documents that are the fully executed copies, and they'll be uploaded to the loop like so. Once all the executed documents have been added here, this is when you're going to go into SISU, and you're going to manually create your transaction. You'll do that by coming to your SISU dashboard here and then navigating to this transactions button, this drop down. You'll click transactions. From here, you should have some kind of simplified looking dashboard, sort of like mine, just with different numbers. And you're going to hit this plus sign over here. Once you hit the plus sign, it's going to bring you into the transaction overview form. Over here on your left-hand side, labeled as number 3, escrow form. That's where you're going to start filling in all of the required information associated with this particular executed sale. So you'll want to reconfirm that your name is showing as the agent. Your signed date is going to be the date that your client and the seller sign the contract. So technically this would be considered the effective date of the contract, but it can be the date that you're entering this particular sale into SISU. So we're just going to put today's date. The sale type, it's either traditional, new construction, vacant land for sale by owner, or short sale, but for sake of training, we're just going to choose traditional. The transaction type, of course, is buyer because that's who we're representing in this file. TC name, just type mine. Then you'll need your client's first and last name as it appears on the contract. You'll need to make sure that you have their email address entered, phone number, and if there's a secondary buyer on the file, you'll have to do the same, but their full name will go here in this name field, and then their email and their phone. If there are more than 2 purchasers on the contract, you can just come down here to where it says private notes at the very bottom, and you can enter in their full names, phone numbers, and emails in this section. From there, if you have the MLS ID, if it's listed on the MLS, you'll type it in that MLS ID. It's hard to say, if it's going to be listed in multiple systems, but you can just put no here. You have to put the year built. You do not have to enter whether or not it's vacant. You'll put in the property address. The opposite party name, in this case, is going to be the seller details, as you see it on the contract. If there is no secondary opposite party name, you can just put NA in those fields. The acceptance date is considered the effective date of the contract. You do not have to put in any of these other date fields. Even this field here where it says closed settlement date, you don't have to enter that. And we actually don't want you to enter this field because should that date come, it's going to automatically mark this file as closed. So if you feel like you have to put a closing date on this per what the contract states, you'll want to put it in the forecasted close date field only. The transaction amount is the purchase price. Earnest money amount is how much the client is putting in for their escrow deposit. The GCI is the commission that is going to be paid to us, EXP, once we close. If you click on this calculator, it will open up the option to enter in a percentage amount versus this open field, which is a dollar amount. The gross agents paid income field, this is what your split will be. If you're working with a mentor or have a partnership with another member on the team, this is where you'll put any notes about any splits from your portion of the split that are to be shared with them. Transaction fee, this is of course our 595 fee field. If that fee is not being collected or it's different from 595 in any way, you need to put a note here for us. That way we can make sure that we notate that. And if there's anything special about the commissions, like let's say if there's a difference between the BBA and what the seller is actually providing in compensation. Let's say the seller compensation is 2.5%, but the BBA says 3%. And if the BBA is not being changed from 3% to the 2.5% the seller is providing, so in other words, if the buyer is not paying any commission other than the 595 transaction fee, you'll have to get a modification to the BBA done. But if you are indeed going to be collecting the difference between what the seller is offering and what the BBA states, just put a note in there letting us know. Otherwise, we'll reach out to confirm if we see it, a conflict between those two documents. The lead source is what you're going to find attached to that lead in Follow-Up Boss. So for me, my lead source in Follow-Up Boss is Sphere for Karen. So we are going to choose Sphere. There's no referral agreement with an outside agent, so we will select no. This appointment was not selected, set up by an ISA, so we choose NA. If I were to purchase a property, I would be using forward property inspections. If you already know what the inspection details are, as in like when it's confirmed, when it's scheduled, which inspections are going to be done, you can put all that information in these subsequent fields. You can choose to answer these questions as well. I, as the TC, will review these and confirm with you. Or if you have any additional notes regarding inspection, something about the property, something about buyer's preferences, you can type those notes in here as well. In this next section towards the bottom, this is where we're going to be going into the financing, the title company, and the cooperating agent and their TC's details. So we're going to be doing a conventional loan with Apley. I'm going to type in Apley Home Loans. And we're going to choose just a random title company. But if you don't see the title company option in these drop downs, you can choose other. But just for sake of timing, we're going to go ahead and choose Citrus. A cooperating brokerage name is the listing agent's brokerage name. And then their full details here. Right, and if they do have a transaction coordinator that you are aware of, you can put their details in now. And then submission confirmation date would be the date that you're filling this out and submitting it to us. Once you hit update, after it's done loading, you should see down here in the bottom left corner a small dialog box with a green check mark. If that check mark is green, that means that your form is good to go and there's no errors that need to be adjusted. If it comes back with a small red mark, that means you need to go through your form again to confirm anything that was missed. I'll show you an example. Let's say we forgot the opposite party names. As you can see, it says, please fix the following form errors, and it has a triangle with an exclamation mark in it, and it's red. And whatever field has the issue will be highlighted in red like so. And then you just have to go back and fill it out and then click the update button again. And then your form will go through. Once this has been done, I will receive as your TC the alert from SISU that you have a new contract that needs to be processed. So then I will go into dotloop and I will go into SISU. I will start cross-checking all of the documentation and information to make sure everything looks good and we're aligned with what's required for compliance. And then I'll be sending introduction emails to buyers or sellers, whoever we're representing, and then also lenders, title company, and whichever agent is on the opposite side of the sale. That's that, folks.